Welcome to another episode of Talk to the Fedora, chatting about hard-hitting, honest entrepreneur wisdom that you can use to grow your small business. My name is Jarrod Goldsmith from eSAX Networking and eSAX Productions, and today we're very pleased to be welcoming Executive Director and Community Builder Jesse Card on our segment. Jesse Card is a recognized leader in Ottawa's social enterprise landscape, celebrated for his dedication to youth advocacy and community development. With a career that began as a criminal justice youth worker with the Youth Services Bureau of Ottawa, Jesse transitioned into entrepreneurship, combining a strong academic foundation in psychology and crime prevention with a passion for empowering young people. As a former standout athlete, Jesse held the all-time career interception record at McMaster University's football program, an achievement that reflects his values of perseverance, discipline, and leadership. His professional accomplishments have been recognized through the prestigious 40 Under 40 Awards through the Ottawa Business Journal, highlighting his impact across business and community sectors. Today, Jesse serves as Executive Director of Youth Ottawa, which is a local not-for-profit charity where he has helped guide the organization beyond the challenges of the pandemic and towards new heights of innovation, visibility, and community impact. Jesse, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jarrod. It's good to be here.
Wonderful. Jesse, we've known each other on and off for many years. Let's start off. Where are you calling in from, please?
Yeah, so I live in Stittsville with my family. My wife, Jessica, I've got two young kids, 6 and 3. So I call Stittsville home now.
Yeah, wonderful. Actually, that's in the west end of Ottawa. So, I'm there often for events. It's a lovely area. Jesse, let's start a little bit about your background. Who are you? Who's Jesse, and what's your business organization about? We just touched very briefly in your bio, but I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Ottawa from Nepean, went to Sir Robert Borden High School, as you mentioned, went on to study at McMaster and then grad school elsewhere. But really, I think of myself now as a community builder. I'm blessed to run this organization that has this great legacy, Youth Ottawa. It was founded back in 1997, so it's nearly 30 years. And it was founded by Max Keeping, the prominent youth advocate and charity advocate for all things youth and CTV anchor, and also member of Parliament Jean Piggott, which now the City Hall main lobby is named after her. So it's quite a feeling to run an organization and steward an organization that those two community builders envisioned and started many years ago. These days I really just think of myself and identify as a small business owner, because that's really ultimately what a charity is, and also a father of 2 beautiful kids.
Right. No, that's wonderful. I think so many social enterprises, businesses, charities, nonprofits, it's important to have that entrepreneurial mindset. Like, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually had this chat with a few young people recently that are interested in entrepreneurship or have already kind of been many years in it. And I always say, like, if you want to really sharpen your entrepreneurial steel, run a charity, because you're basically doing the same thing as a small business, except you don't sell anything.
Right. So, Jesse, who would resonate most with your story today, please? Like those who would be watching.
Yeah, it's a good question. Perhaps people that are early on in their entrepreneurial journey. I started, you mentioned that I worked at the Youth Services Bureau. That was back when I was about 27, 28, into my 30s. And then I decided to start a business, I think around 29 years old. So that was my second true business that I'd started. I'd started one in university. It was a car detailing business. But I kind of ran it part-time in the summers for a couple of years. So my first real business that I started and I worked at for over a decade was House Edge Media. It was a video production company back in 2010 when video I saw as a real opportunity and where things were going online. So I think I've got that kind of background. So audiences that are interested in getting into their entrepreneurial journey, but also, mid-level entrepreneurs and charity leaders or nonprofit leaders that are going through the struggle, and I think my story could resonate with those folks quite well.
Right. Well, thank you, Jesse. I mean, so why did you launch some of those businesses? Like, did you have a passion for it? Did you think that you'd follow up a career in football, or how does that all relate?
Yeah, well, I was very interested in video production, drama in high school. I kind of put that on pause to take the safe route, which is go to university, get an education. I did start to kind of dabble back in it in university. I put together a few of our football highlight videos and got to kind of get re-engaged in the tools of video production. After grad school, I started working again, at YSB, and it was a great job. But a lot of the older people that had worked there had said, I wish I had maybe moved on earlier and gotten into something else. I think one of the traps, they called it the golden handcuffs of working in the federal government, is that you get used to the stable income and then you kind of build your life around that. And then it's very difficult to jump into entrepreneurship at that point. You have a lot more to sacrifice. So you often see very, very successful entrepreneurs that lead some of the biggest Silicon Valley tech companies say, like, take the risks when you're young. So at 28 or 29, I actually got a grant with the provincial government to start a business, and I jumped and took the leap at that point. I think I'm the kind of person, and I think you are too, those that I see in the city hustling and trying new things all the time. I don't think we're really cut from the cloth of being able to just do the same thing every day. I think we like the highs and lows and the excitement of entrepreneurship. So I think I was always destined for that, and eventually I couldn't resist, and I jumped head first into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I think, like you said, cut from the same cloth. I think I can appreciate that. I tried for years trying to get government work, and it was contracts and contracts, but I was never able to get it full time. Then I finally launched my first business in 2011, and I find it probably very hard to work for someone else at this time.
Yeah. You get used to the autonomy and the creativity, and it's hard to kind of fit in a box after you experience that lifestyle.
I mean, when you're dealing with youth, people who show an aspiration for entrepreneurship, I had always thought that those who have that entrepreneurial community mindset will make the best employees, because they're critical thinking. They could think on the spot, and they treat it like a business, which is so different from most other employees.
Yeah, they call those like entrepreneurs, those that are finding opportunities within a company. There is a little bit more of a framework established. Sometimes that's co-created if they're one or two in command, but a lot of times I think these types of individuals that are entrepreneurs naturally have trouble kind of just continuing kind of the day-to-day monotony of the business that's so important. I think it takes a skill set in itself to do that and to stay focused in a lane. But for those that are builders and creatives, I think you're always looking for the next thing.
Absolutely. So speaking of the next thing, building something, that community connection, let's talk about collaboration, Jesse. How important is the concept of collaboration, and how would you use that day to day?
Yeah, collaboration's huge. I mean, when I started House Edge Media, it was my good friend Tyler and I that started that. And I think we complemented each other in terms of artistic direction, but also business acumen. So that kind of collaboration was really important starting that business. It's even more critical running a charity that is, designed to service the community. You can't do anything alone, really. It takes, one of the sayings that I always use is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in terms of Youth Ottawa's work, I mean, we have relationships and work with, really all of the youth serving organizations in the city, including the BGCO, the CHEO Hospital, Christie Lake Kids, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Ottawa, the YSB, as I mentioned before. It's critical that we all work together and collaborate, because we don't all have the one, silver bullet solution to support youth. There's lots of different demographics, neighborhoods, communities, cultural considerations. So together as an ecosystem, I think we round each other out and we complement each other. And it's great having so many like-minded partners in the city.
But Jesse, this is very refreshing, because there are still some organizations out there, we won't name them, but those who still think inside the box. They consider other organizations as competition. And, probably much like you, I always thought that was short-sighted.
Yeah, I do too. But I also understand that we're working within a system. The system is created that the funding is very competitive, and I've had it put to me by other people that I respect a lot in the sector say that we're kind of pitted against each other that way, which is unfortunate. But it does take a certain individual and a certain organization to rise above that. At the end of the day, more people trying to help youth, whether it's youth that are suffering from food insecurity or unstable housing, or if it's just confidence and having self-esteem that lead them into pathways that can help them, whatever it may be, wherever in the city, the more people working on this to support we should be grateful that people are working on this, not seeing them as competitors, really.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure you've heard it many times, but especially relevant for Youth Ottawa, it takes a village.
Yeah.
The entire ecosystem working together to help. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think Youth Ottawa really prides ourselves on is we've been able to find some really great pathways. And what we say is we are Ottawa's youth leadership engine, where we connect youth to people, power, and possibility. There's a lot of kind of on the ground programs available throughout the city, but I think what they struggle to do, and I've put them up myself before. We've stood up many programs over the years with Youth Ottawa, but I've also participated in them myself as a young youth. Is that we can kind of put together an environment for a period, a cohort. But they're always asking what's next. Once they go through that, they sharpen their skills, they learn some new tools, and then they're kind of on their own again. So what we're trying to do at Youth Ottawa is create an ongoing community that's flexible, that's fluid. You might not, attend every time or every event, but then you're always welcome back. And we've heard some really great feedback from whether it's high school students or university students that have kind of exited and transitioned out of high school or out of university, and they say they always come back to Youth Ottawa because it's a permanent in their life. So that's really encouraging to hear the work that we're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. And people come back. They see the value what Youth Ottawa was doing, and it really shapes people and generations.
Yeah. Thanks, Jarrod. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jesse. So obviously one of my next questions is going to be about networking, one of my favorite subjects. So when you're out and about in the community, how to talk about networking? Like, how do you showcase or promote networking to youth?
Yeah, so we've actually, we were, speaking of entrepreneurship, we were forced to pivot this year. We had a great event that we held at City Hall every year. It was an annual event called Untapped. And we had some Algonquin College design students join for a term a couple years ago, build this amazing looking brand and feel. And unfortunately, the funding was cut for that entrepreneurship event. But we love the brand so much, we said, what can we do with this? So we've kind of borrowed that brand to become a youth monthly networking event because we see so much value. I mean, you see it with the Ottawa Business Journal, the Ottawa Board of Trade, Kiwanis, Invest Ottawa, all of these organizations, the modus operandi is networking events. So, and eSAX, of course, one of the leaders in the city. So if adults are doing this, and this is how we meet new people, get new opportunities, then why aren't we replicating that for young people? And there wasn't really a standalone youth-focused networking event in the city that you could look at and say, okay, that's the gold standard. So that's what we decided to do. So we're hosting a monthly youth networking event called Untapped. We're working on kind of a permanent facility for that, so it's predictable and ongoing. But it's so important, and I always tell young people that you have to get off of your computer, you have to get out of your house, you have to even get out of your neighborhood, to be frank, and start mixing with people from all different backgrounds, all different socioeconomic situations, and that's how you're going to grow your next opportunity, your next pathway. We often say to young people too, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know, but more importantly, it's who knows you.
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. Getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, like you said, the first thing to do is get out of your house and research some events, speak to some colleagues or some friends. Say, hey, what events are you going to? And at the event, yeah, don't stay with them the whole night. Divide and conquer. Go talk to new people. Don't be ashamed or afraid as a youth or a student. It's such an asset to have those skills at a younger age.
Yeah, and it's not easy though, right? I mean, you're very good at it. You have a natural aptitude and skill for it. I see you the way you can work a room and network and find. I think what especially I appreciate about you, Jarrod, is is you really understand what everyone's kind of goals are, and you're able to make those connections, not just to know another person, but really to understand how people can help each other. You've done a good job with that over the years.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jesse. I mean, to me, the concept of networking, it should not be self-centered, which might sound different to most people. They go to networking events. I need to get a job. I need a client. I have to find some XYZ. But if people approach networking from a different angle about how they can help others, that's a fundamental change. And I wish I learned this, when I was in my 20s or 30s.
Yeah, it's kind of a servant leadership style.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And I think, if we're talking, I think we're talking generally everybody these days coming out of COVID, and with the advent of technology and just how easy it is to get on a screen and accomplish things and do things. As we move more, into technology, I think people are desiring to get out in person more. I mean, I think we're seeing that, and I think it's incredibly important for young people who don't have that baseline of doing that, that they get out, they learn how to introduce themselves, they learn how to have their elevator pitch of what they're trying to do at that moment, and get out and meet people. I think it's so important. I think we're going to have to really force ourselves to be more human in the coming years. I joke and say within the arts, like there might be kind of an organic food stamp that says this art was created by a human, and we might start purchasing based on that.
Wonderful. I think, we could talk the whole segment on this sort of thing in networking. Continuing with the networking, you mentioned the concept of branding. How does one go about, either through a charity or nonprofit or a business, branding tips? How does one go about creating something like that?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many amazing kind of industry experts on branding in Ottawa. I find we have a lot of talented agencies that, are kind of, we can learn from. They're handling some of the biggest brands and companies in Ottawa and beyond. But, from what I've put together and learned and researched myself, a brand is really a point in which all of the attributes, the brand pillars, your messaging framework, your logo, your look and feel, your tone, and the general vibe of how you talk about what you do and to people, all that comes together. And once people start talking about you and basically being an advocate for the organization or for you, that you've transcended and you've become a brand at that point. So, I think we're, small operators, local businesses, and certainly nonprofit sector. We work hard on that because it's so, as you mentioned before, it's competitive for people's funds, for donors' dollars, and then also for grants. That if people don't really understand who you are and what you do and your brand, and you don't have that reputation, it just makes it, that much harder to compete. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Brand is very important. And then I think for young people that maybe don't have an organization that they're building, a personal brand is just as important, right? It's what people are saying about you. It's about the relationships that you carry, the integrity that you have. I believe that if you do things the right way and you treat the right people and you show up, good things will happen to you. And that's all about branding.
Right. Yeah, so I think one of the big takeaways from this good knowledge here, Jesse, is a brand is a lot more than just an image or a logo.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. What about mentorship or coaching? I know that through Youth Ottawa, you do a lot with helping people develop as individuals, young adults. Did you ever have a mentor or a coach?
Yeah, it's a great question. I certainly have. Different phases of my life, they've been different people, but I can give you a few examples. My mom and dad certainly were great mentors and people in my life that I could always count on growing up. Once I kind of exited the house and was, towards becoming an adult, there were some coaches that I had in sports that I could always lean on in terms of just seeing how they conduct themselves and what they value. And that kind of just through osmosis kind of transitioned into me. I've had professors that were willing to, offer referral letters or reference letters for me for different projects or grants or even grad school. And then most recently, when I became an executive director for the first time, being a small business owner, I never had a board. So I was actually introduced to Tim Kluk, who's the president and CEO of the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, runs a massive team. And he was so generous to jump on and just kind of talk to me about what I was experiencing taking over an organization and how to think about things. So one thing I will say about Ottawa, and the reason that I continue to stay here and make this my home, is that people show up for each other. And I think, what I've been afforded in terms of, the folks at the Ottawa Business Journal, Ottawa Board of Trade, really helping Youth Ottawa and helping me advance and put things together and be a builder for the city in my capacity. I try to do that and ensure that Youth Ottawa can be an organization that any young person, whether they're, whatever ward, whatever community, whatever, economic background they're in, can look to Youth Ottawa as a first step mentor. And we never say no to any meeting. We never say no to anyone's ideas. We always really make time to listen to young people and what they want to do. And often we have, a person that we can introduce them to, or a next step that they can take. And I think that's what really differentiates Youth Ottawa from everyone else, is that we're more interested in helping young people develop programs for other youth than we are developing the programs ourselves. And we've been able to do that with a number of different young people's initiatives, whether it be private business, a social enterprise, a community service organization, or a simple event or workshop that's geared to young people. Young people often have the best solutions, and we need to just create the environment for them to succeed, create these things, and then I think we would have full coverage of the city to support other youth.
Fantastic initiative, Jesse. Yeah, keep that up. It's really making a difference. Let's talk about some money or cash flow tips, either the youth that should be understanding the concept of money, or for small businesses, people thinking of starting a business. Let's talk about some best practices for that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think cash flow is the bloodline of the business. If you don't have money coming in, you're not a business, I would say. The challenge with so I've had it explained to me too from other people that I respect a great deal. Focus on making the product really great and ensure that you're actually running it like a business. So therefore, even if you have means to invest more to make it exactly how you want it, like if you're going into debt for that, you're not a real business. You have to learn how to bring the money in. You can't be shy of asking and doing sales. And I think it's one of the hardest things to do. So a lot of us, and myself included, will choose to avoid that and work on something else that's, not as hard or not as, intimidating as getting rejected. But really, if you want to be a true business, you have to bring in money and you have to worry about cash flow. The charity sector is a bit different. We might get a grant that is kind of a big influx of money at one point, but then that has to last for 2 or 3 years. So managing that over a long period of time does take a certain amount of skill and maturity. At the same time, we have to continue fulfilling the mandate even when we don't have funding. So it really, as I said earlier in the conversation, I think if you want to really be a true, entrepreneur Jedi, run a charity for a while, because you don't really sell anything. So cash flow can be challenging.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Running on fumes, but still looking for the future.
Yeah.
To keep it sustainable.
Yeah. With a very small team. Yes.
Yeah. So Jesse, let's talk about probably one of the most important questions is time management. You're out and about at events. You're running this organization. You're busy with a young family. How do you manage your time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's something that we all work at it. But one tip I think that has helped me, and this was recently explained to me by somebody, that you every day you wake up and you have your kind of 3 big stones that you want to move and roll down the hill. Keep the main thing. So what are those 3 big goals that, everything else is kind of subsumed under those 3? Don't lose sight of that. Don't get kind of caught up in the weeds. Allow yourself to lift your head up above water and kind of keep prioritizing on those 3 things. If it's been a couple of weeks and you can't you can't say how you've affected and moved those three things forward in any way or activity, then you're probably not focused on the right things. So in terms of prioritizing and time management, I think keeping the main thing, and then finding time for everything else, but understanding what's important and urgent, what is important but not urgent, and kind of triaging every day. I'm still old school. I'll get a pen and paper. I could be putting it in some sort of software, but it's something about pen and paper that still works for me. So that's what I start with every day. And again, understanding you've only got so many hours in a day, and you maybe the most important thing is your family. So keeping
Absolutely.
that.
So
Keeping that is one of the main things.
Two things that you mentioned, Jesse, that I want to touch on is one is, prioritize, triage. For those who are not familiar with the concept, you wake up every day and, it's the most pressing thing that needs your attention this moment. And then if it's just an email to get back to, it'll be later on in the list down the road. And I still keep an old fashioned paper agenda. I put everything.
There you go. Yeah. But that can be stressful, and maybe some people are better than others. Like if I have something that's unanswered and it's sitting there, it does occupy some space in my brain and add a little bit of baseline stress for me. But I think you have to have thick skin if you're going to do this sort of stuff, and you get used to it.
Oh yeah, and because we're talking about entrepreneurship knowledge for small business in particular, you talked about keeping it in your brain. One of the reasons I write everything down is so I don't have to think about the appointment. Somebody says to me, "Oh, great, what's your day like tomorrow?" Well, I don't know. I don't have my agenda in front of me. You don't know what you're doing tomorrow? No, I wake up and then here's my to-do list.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
You don't have to think about all that stuff. It just takes up gray matter.
Yeah, that's right. Good.
So, Jesse, let's talk about some of the successes that you're most proud of. I mean, you were awarded with the prestigious 40 Under 40, which is a huge honor. Tell me about some of the other successes that you've had.
Yeah, I would say, even graduating high school and going to university was a huge accomplishment for me. At times that wasn't a certain path. I think I was an average football player, but I did believe that I could compete at the university level. And I took the risk and went there unrecruited to McMaster, actually, which was kind of an odd thing. Not many kids walk on to teams that aren't recruited and not really wanted. And that worked out really well for me. So I was able to accomplish a lot with the university program, and came close to going to the CFL out of that. So, that was a lesson in my life that don't count yourself out. Like situations can change. And even if you're not quite ready at the moment, don't be afraid to set yourself down the course that you want, even if it seems uncertain, because a lot of it is, magical in terms of what can happen, the connections that you meet or the coach that believes in you. So I've held that as a success. And then, again, early on in business, taking that leap as you did at one point, starting your own business at, I was late 20s. So I remember the first time getting an opportunity with that early business to partner with a more experienced business and actually rent an office with them.
Yeah.
I had to ask my dad if I could move back into his house and take my rent payments and move that into a corporate lease. And, I didn't know if that was going to work out. In fact, it didn't. That person ended up going bankrupt within the year. And then thank God the landlord was kind and only made me pay my section of the rent and lease.
Wow.
But I think I'm proud that I kept that business going for over a decade. I think that's a huge accomplishment for anyone that wants to start a business is lasting that, I guess, 1 year mark, 2 year mark, 5 year mark and beyond. That's not an easy thing to do. So I'm quite proud of that. And then most recently, I'm proud of taking Youth Ottawa out of the pandemic. We had some financial challenges. We were behind on some financial audits, and basically we had to catch up and do kind of double the work for a couple of years. But we got out of that, and I think we're in a much better space now. We've been able to reimagine a few of our flagship events. We've been able to introduce some new pieces that I call, they're initiatives, but they're really infrastructure for the city, and helping the city of Ottawa become a child and youth-friendly city and a world-class child and youth-friendly city, including most recently the National Youth Week here, celebrated in Ottawa, and also the leadership competitions, Mayor for a Day, CEO for a Day,
Right.
again, in collaboration with some great businesses, great community organizations. And then we've also launched the first youth municipal election. So youth 15 to 25 can actually step up, learn how to campaign, put a platform together, and then there's actually going to be a youth election in October. And that's kind of a piece of infrastructure that I think can last decades. And we're bringing that to the city on its 200th year anniversary and birthday.
Oh, that's wonderful. I look forward to seeing more about that, Jesse. You talked earlier about to paraphrase, self-disqualify.
Yes.
Maybe like not believing in yourself, and I see this once in a while. Somebody says, "Oh, I'm looking at applying for this government job, but I don't really fit." I said, "Apply anyways." The worst that they'll do is say no or just not reply.
Yeah. You really can't. We think we're pretty smart and we can predict every outcome, but the truth is there's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of forces at work that maybe we're not even privy to. So I would agree with you. Always take the chance, put yourself out there, and see what happens.
Right, and obviously, we can't talk about like adaptability or resiliency, work-life balance, without talking about mental health.
Yes.
Would you care to talk about mental health issues affecting perhaps small business owners, youth even?
Yeah, 100%. I was just having a conversation with a young person, late 20s, that is a photographer here in town, talking about building their brand as a photographer and doing certain events, but really also posting, not their clients' work that they're being hired to do, but also their own brand and their own business. And he just got to a point where you just can't continue to post. There's always something else to do, and you're always glued to your phone thinking about what platform to post. And I can relate to that. I'm currently running Youth Ottawa social media, so that is something that strikes and resonates with me. And I think that's a technological thing too. Like we are being a lot is being asked of us as people, but business owners even more so, to be responsible for not only the work of the business that it does, or in this case, the charity's mandate, the programs, the events, but also how people are discovering us and how are we growing and how are we attracting new donor dollars. That can add up and certainly has an effect on your mental health. I think that I'm not in the perfect spot that I'd like to be in. I don't have as much time to exercise, or what's been helpful for me in my career has been meditating. Just 20 minutes twice a day. Try to not think about anything and just kind of have the mind be quiet for a while. That's something that I'd like to get back to that I haven't really made space or had space for the last few years. But it's so important, right? I think to show up and be the best version of yourself, you need to really take your mental health and your physical health seriously. And I know it's always a challenge for small business owners to do that.
Oh, for sure. And we talked about something about outside of work and family. What's something that you do for yourself, to help you de-stress or declutter, or just something?
Yeah. Well, I've really been enjoying the weekends being with the kids. So when I ran House Edge Media, I didn't have weekends off. Often some of our events and our work happened on the weekends. So at least with Youth Ottawa, for the most part, there are many evenings and weekends that I do need to work. But for the most part, Saturday and Sunday is off limits, unless it's kind of posting something in the morning on social media. But I really enjoy helping out with my daughter's dance or my son's baseball. I often, put my hand up to be a coach and help the head coach or whatnot.
Yeah.
And that is a moment where my phone is not with me. I'm really being a dad and just enjoying these golden years that while the kids are young. And I know it's cliche, but they say it goes fast. And I think you really have to keep that in mind when you've got young kids like I do. So that's something that is providing that balance for me right now.
Yeah, that's really important, Jesse. Yeah, family first. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what's next, Jesse? Where do you see yourself in, say, 3 to 5 years from now?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love, I've been working on the vision that I believe Youth Ottawa, the work that we do and have done, we've often been told we punch above our weight category. I think we're doing a lot, but I'd like to see us get over that $1 million threshold as an organization, which we haven't done in 29 years. I'd like to get us to a point where we can reliably provide, 5 to 10 full-time jobs that aren't going to go away if we don't get a grant the next year. I'd like to get us to that level of sustainability so we can continue to do even more than we do now. And I'd love to get Youth Ottawa a point like that so that maybe I can start considering other things and move on and maybe jump back into my own personal business. I'm not sure what I would do at this point, but I can almost guarantee it would be something to do with AI.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Well, this is great, Jesse, and I know you're going to be a success wherever you go. So you've done wonderful work with Youth Ottawa. Keep that up. You're really making a difference here.
Thanks, Jarrod.
So Jesse, we're coming to the end of our segment. Is there something that you'd like to touch on, maybe to elaborate further, some words of wisdom for others?
No, I just say to tie it back to entrepreneurship and some tips on networking. I believe no matter how hard it is and the highs and lows, I would recommend entrepreneurship to any young person, any person for that matter, because I think you really grow and challenge yourself, and I think that if you're not doing that throughout the course of your life, you're really leaving some things on the table. And at the end of the day, when everything's done, you want to be able to be proud of yourself and what you've accomplished and what you've been able to build. And I would recommend just taking that journey, taking that first leap. If you're somebody that has an idea or have always wanted to do that, it's an amazing journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. And for those of you who are considering starting up a business, even at a young age, there are resources out there. Maybe there's something like Youth Ottawa or Invest Ottawa in your particular part of town. And talk to people. Say, I'm thinking of this. What resources might be available for me, as a 12, 15, 20-year-old? And you'd be amazed that there are organizations out there who want to help you succeed. So don't be shy. Start your business and let Jesse and I know how it goes in a few years. We're here to help.
You bet.
So, Jesse, thank you very much. I'd like to thank entrepreneurial and community leader Jesse Card on the segment of Talk to the Fedora. We hope that this segment has provided some wisdom that you can use to grow your small business. So please subscribe and check out the hundreds of other YouTube channels on the eSAX YouTube channel for other videos across multiple playlists for some great entrepreneurial content. Jesse, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Jarrod.
Thanks for watching. For more great entrepreneur networking tips, subscribe to our eSAX YouTube channel, because eSAX makes networking work.